Hey Bruin fans, want to go behind the scenes with your favorite teams and athletes? How about getting exclusive merch and opportunities to enter sweepstakes like sideline access at the Rose Bowl? Introducing Blue and Gold Society, UCLA Athletics fan membership program created to support Bruin student athletes. Members receive benefits like exclusive gear, videos featuring insider stories, and incredible experiences courtesy of UCLA Athletics. Sign up today at blueandgoldsociety.com.
Good afternoon. Getting right down to business here to wrap up the week. We're doing it live, doing more at 4 weekday afternoons, right after Guy Benson and just before the 790 KBC News Blitz. Mottek On Money, live on the air, 790 KBC, streaming live online worldwide at kbc.com. And, of course, the on-demand Mottek On Money podcast, kbc.com, Apple, iTunes, YouTube, all your favorite podcast platforms. What a week, huh? Nervous time on Wall Street and Main Street. Government shutdown continuing with no end in sight. More impacts being felt at the nation's airports now, and among those relying on government food benefits. The week was also packed with news, which we'll take apart here with veteran market strategist Brian Perry coming up here in just a few moments. In the face of what seemed like many surreal headlines this week, the NASDAQ ended the week lower. In fact, wrapped up its worst week since April. The NASDAQ pulling back 49 points today, back to 23,004. The other major averages managed to hold on to closing gains, with the Dow 75 points at 46,987, and the S&P 500 gained 8 points at 6,729. The yield in the 10-year note eased to 4.10%. The volatility index also eased a bit, down 2%. Cryptos had a rough week, but rebounded here as we wrap up the week. We see Bitcoin back above 103,000. It cracked below 100,000 earlier in the week. Ethereum still struggling, but off its worst level of the week, around 3,400 now. And Doge also hit around 16 cents. I believe now it's at 18 cents. Stocks did recover from their lows earlier in the day on reports that Senate Democrats had made a new proposal to end the government shutdown. Tesla in focus today. The stock was down about 4% on news that shareholders approved Elon Musk's up to $1 trillion pay package. Yep, you heard me, $1 trillion. He'll be the first trillionaire, and we'll talk more about that this hour as well. Big slide in tech shares that led a broad sell-off yesterday. Consumer moods are dropping some more in the month of November, according to the latest consumer confidence survey from the University of Michigan. In fact, it looks like lowest reading since 2022 during the COVID-19 pandemic, among the lowest results recorded in the survey's decades of history. Among the headlines this week, Democratic Socialist, now the mayor of New York, Zoran Mandami, stormed into the national political scene by winning New York City's mayoral election. Gold took a breather this week, but ended the week above 4,000 an ounce once again. We'll get an update on the precious metals and record-shattering moves we've seen this year with Barry Stepler, founder of Stepler & Company and Mint State Gold, rare coin expert, former president of the American Numismatic Association, will be joining us live later this hour. And on Tesla and the whole works in the car business, with Elon Musk set to become the first trillionaire. We'll talk about what's happening there, as well as everything in the car world. Lauren Fix will be joining us ahead of the LA Auto Show coming up by the end of this month. She's the co-host of the Drive Car Show, syndicated radio show, and also the awesome founder of Car Coach Reports on YouTube. But first, on your money, the markets, the economy, and the whole works now. Joining us live, veteran market strategist Brian Perry, editor of BrianPerryInvesting.com. and also author of the 25% Cash Machine. Brian, thank you very much for taking the call here to wrap up this big week.
It is a good time to wrap up the week, Frank, and thank you for having me on for the, what's been a very, very tough week for a lot of AI investors. And at the same time, I see, a lot of really light at the end of the tunnel here after something like this. This is a market that went through some digestion of what have been some very heady year-to-date gains here. So, you might not think it, looking, at the final standing of the major indices today, but today was really quite a win for the bulls. At least technically speaking, the S&P fell below its 50-day moving average, which is right around 6,700, but once again found support and managed to close above that level. And again, it's just time and time again that this remarkable rally has been able to accomplish that. Going back to April, and the buy the dip crowd really showed up to reemerge early in the afternoon session, on the news of maybe a government, glad handing situation here over the weekend. but really just we took control of the tape and really helped many stocks, pare larger losses on the front end of the day and yesterday and extend gains into the close here. So I'm encouraged by what I saw because I think that we will see, especially with the what's going on at the airports now. There's 40 major airports now that are cutting way back here because of risk of FAA and TSA workers burning out. And so that's going to add a lot of pressure here to the White House and to Congress to start getting things, because now the government shutdown is really starting to matter. In terms of the AI trade, I think it's far from over. This week's pullback, again, is digestion, and I think it's healthy. There's a lot of chatter by the talking heads about the debt that's been merged in the AI sector here related to infrastructure debt, which is past $1 trillion here, driven largely by OpenAI's unprecedented capital commitments to data centers, chips, and cloud services, and all these partnerships. And people are having a hard time wrapping their head around all that has happened here in such a short period of time. The scale of the numbers is just off the chart. And so this is not .com. Okay, let's just get that and focus here, because what's happening here is transformational change that rivals almost any other major transformational change in our industrial history in America. So we're going through what is an incredibly high-powered addition to the productivity of American businesses. And yes, there is some job deconstruction underway, and that's going to have to be just reinvented in the trades and other types of AI-related use cases. But the moat for the biggest AI companies is getting wider, Frank. And, NVIDIA reports their earnings on November 19th, I believe. And the NASDAQ successfully, again, it tested its 50-day moving average here. Buyers are returning. And this was about a 6% decline, which is, garden variety. But these declines happen in very short order here, 3-4 days. And then it feels like the machines take over and everybody flips out. A lot of deleveraging and all that's underway. Huge option trading going on here. So this gets everyone, off kilter. But at the same time, I think it's constructive. A few mixed signals this week here, creating a lot of uncertainty here. You had the worst Challenger report here earlier this week, which is like the worst in 20 years. For October, U.S. unemployment announced 153,000 layoffs. And year-to-date cuts total 1.1 million, which is up 65% from the same January through October period a year ago. So today was supposed to be the employment report for October, and we didn't get that. Okay, so we're kind of operating in the dark here, driving 65 miles an hour in the fog when it comes to employment here. And so the market is anticipating some lower numbers coming out, which should set the table here for a Fed rate cut in December. ISM services, on the other hand, the PMI services for October, our services industry is booming here. It had a sharp rebound for the month after a flat September here. New orders and business activity surged, which reinforces the resilience of the services sector here. And we're all paying more for services. We all know that. Again, today, another counter lever to that data is the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Survey, Frank, which came in at 50.3, which is the second lowest reading since 1978. So people are nervous here. And it was a 6.2% drop from October and a staggering 30% decline year over year. Again, moving in the other direction, Expedia reports stunning numbers to the upside. Okay, sales and earnings were off the hook. And then the stock's up 18% today, yet Norwegian Cruise Lines, they dropped their numbers, they delivered guidance and on both sales and earnings, and the stock drops 15%. And on the other side, hotel stocks take off. So what's going on in the travel business? Seems like there's a lot of domestic hotel bookings, but less over international travel. And lastly, we got the airports, and this is going to affect travel for sure, because what's going on with the FAA is they're cutting back 4% now, but they're going to cut back further flights by 10%. I think as of November 10th here. So that's going to certainly, if the government doesn't reopen here, that's going to be a problem for the travel industry. So the shutdown is important right now. It's important that these guys get it together and come up with a resolution here that puts this to bed. And because the continuing resolution actually goes out only till about another 15 days, and then they got to do it again.
On the Air Live
Right.
with veteran market strategist Brian Perry, editor of BrianPerryInvesting.com. Thank you for that very thorough assessment, as always. Interestingly, despite all the chaos at the airports now and the flight cancellations, flight delays, and so forth, airline stocks had a good day today. And, of course, the big thing historically that impacts the airlines is oil prices and costs related to fuel. And oil has cracked below $60 a barrel this week. Right now at 59.83. What about the airline stocks in the face of all that's going on?
I think it's okay if you buy the ones that really have, pristine balance sheets. I think Delta is probably the way to go in this whole thing here. They have a really phenomenal, management team, great balance sheet. They operate out of Atlanta. They manage most of the incoming traffic from Latin America here. I do like Delta down here at this level. Again, lower fuel prices always help this industry here. It's a crazy business because it's super capital intensive. And again, SkyWest is the best performing of it all. They're more of a regional airline. They just tend to be more corporate. And so corporate travel is definitely hot. So that's, and we've seen a split between the budget flyer versus the corporate flyer. So corporate business activity is trending up and to the right, where the main cabin is kind of trending down to the right. So stick with maybe a SkyWest as a pure play on the corporate travel here, and Delta if you want to buy a main airline.
All right, Brian Perry, what about cryptos? I know you follow what's happening there too. It was a stomach-churning week in crypto land with Bitcoin cracking below 100,000 this week. It's back above 103,000 here at the moment. What are your thoughts about what happened this week on the crypto scene?
Okay, well, here we are. We're back to key support here. And true to form, whale money is quietly accumulating Bitcoin at current levels, near the 100,000 level, which is where large holders have added 30,000 Bitcoin in just the past week, Frank. And that basically surpasses, it's more than 4 times what the weekly mining supply offers the market. So that tells you that the large, big-time holders of Bitcoin are stepping in at this level here. They've been waiting for this pullback from the 130 level here to initiate and add to positions. I really wouldn't mess around with any other crypto at this point in time. I would be looking at Bitcoin. And there's the whole thing too. Stable coin has become a big story in all of this, and how that's going to, digital gold and all this. Bitcoin and cryptos, just to make this clear, are not digital gold in my view. They're speculative. Look what's happened to the Nasdaq, and look what's happened to the crypto market. It's been hammered, just hammered. And so, gold is gold, and silver is silver, and platinum is platinum. But Bitcoin it's a risk asset. So we should all understand that. And it's not going to replace the dollar, but it's going to help the dollar. Okay, and that's really the base case behind Bitcoin. So with that in mind, and stable coin, and Ethereum, and the other Solana, and the other major cryptos. So let's keep that in mind here. But right now, with the limited supply of Bitcoin, tapped out at 21 million coins, and we're already 18 million coins there. It really is where the big money wants to own for a storehouse of wealth. And I think that at this level here, people should really step in and take a look at Bitcoin from its, from the saving standpoint, as well as to the upside opportunity. I think it's going considerably higher here, and we'll probably reach 250,000. I can't give you a timeline on that, but I think it will get there.
On the line with veteran market strategist Brian Perry, among the surreal headlines I was alluding to, someone President Trump calls a communist is going to be the mayor of New York, the Democratic Socialist. That's certainly big news on Wall Street. And then the Supreme Court this week also with that big hearing on the legality of President Trump's tariffs. And if that is unwound, what that would mean if the Treasury would have to refund $1 trillion. What about these potential flies in the Chardonnay here, Brian, and the potential market reaction?
Well, they're probably larger than flies, Frank. But what's going on in the Supreme Court here is, Trump has five team members on his side in a 9-person court. I think that he will get through this, and I think the tariffs will be upheld. Pretty much, and that's where we're at here. He has executive orders here, and they'll try to, walk it down the, other types of constitutional lines, but I don't think that's going to take place here. I think that, at this point in time, from my standpoint, after looking at them all over the course of the last 40 years, much of it is justified. And so I think that we're going to get into the base case of where the rest of the world stands versus where we are now versus where we would go back to if we didn't hold up tariffs. And I think that will win out at the end of the day. The other question, what was it? What was the second one?
About the new mayor of New York.
Oh, yeah. Okay. This guy.
Yeah.
All roads lead through Albany, New York, Frank. Okay. So, I think this guy's crazy. Okay. I mean, he's going to run more people out of New York than California did out of, to Florida than California did. And it's unfortunate because, JP Morgan has built this fantastic tower with 89 elevators and escalators in it. It's not a good time for New York, in my opinion here. And I just don't understand really the soul of New York at this point in time. I honestly don't. And so I think that he's going to attempt to do a lot of things that will, bring a lot of fluster and bluster to the conversation. But I think in Albany, New York, where there's a lot of, traditional, what I want to say, I guess the morals and values of New York at play. I don't think they're going to sell out to this communist regime that he's put in place here. He's going to try, and some of it may work, some of it may not. But I think New York still stands to be the number one capitalist city in the world, and they're going to defend that at the end of the day.
Yeah, looks like they might be set to be getting set to learn some very, very hard lessons there. It looks like. And Brian Perry, before we let you off the hook here. In the face of all of this, let me ask you the big question that you take here so well always, and that is any specific places where you are putting money now and or taking it off the table?
Well, in this kind of market, Frank, when there's a lot of dislocation going on here, so you got to look at, where there's priceless dislocation here, and this is where people can find wonderful opportunities here, like the stock strategy, Michael Saylor's company, which used to be called MicroStrategy. He's the largest holder of Bitcoin in the world, and his net asset value for all the Bitcoin he owns, and this is a stunning number, trades at a 63% discount to the market value of its Bitcoin holdings. And that's because people don't understand the company that well, and it's not like a liquid, Bitcoin asset. He's a holding company. But at this level here, it's come down from 400 to 270. I think people really need to if you want to buy Bitcoin at a discount, then look at MSTR. I started adding a little bit in NVIDIA today. I took a larger position in Broadcom, AVGO. Right now, with the QQQs holding the 50-day moving average, you don't have to get really intelligent about this. You just cast a net over the NASDAQ because this is still the market's future. And so the QQQs are an excellent opportunity here on this pullback here. I added Robinhood to all my accounts today. Full disclosure. I also added Tesla. I own Tesla, and I added the Tesla here. This $1 trillion pay package. This is not just income. He has to earn all these, these big levels, these terms of what he's supposed to, have to, perform on, and it's all in stock options. So if he doesn't take this company at $8.5 trillion, in 5 years, he gets nothing. Okay. Also adding the more silver and gold here, the GDX, the gold miners, Frank, gold and silver had a really nice pullback and a very bullish uptrend. Looks good. And then lastly is Snowflake, which is a major enabler of AI at the enterprise level here. As large companies deploy AI on a software level here, they use Snowflake to integrate, and upgrade their cloud systems to make sure that all happens at a very smooth and seamless process here. And Snowflake is really the best name in that business here. And taking off here, I came out of Cheniere LNG. The competition for liquefied natural gas is really growing fast around the world here. Prices are coming down. I also took off Berkshire Hathaway, which is a big move for me here because Geico is running into a lot of competition pricing issues here, and it's a major holding here. And without the Warren Buffett effect on the stock here, it's just really starting to wane. So I'm looking for performance, right here and now. And Berkshire's going to take some time to make that. And I'm not a very patient investor when it comes to these types of things. I want to make money between now and the next 12 months. And then lastly, I sold half my Amazon on the post-earnings call because I think it's going to be a softer consumer holiday season here. And even with e-commerce, I'm not sure that, we're seeing with the consumer sentiment numbers here out of UMISH and other the surveys here, that I think that the consumer is going to dial it back here over the e-commerce Christmas holiday season here. And I just we had a big pop on the earnings, that went to a new high. So I took half off and I'm keeping half. So, but like Amazon, you own half, you trade half. And then lastly, the most advice I can give to people at this moment in time, the best piece of advice is just make sure you look at the upward guidance that companies are giving here. Because even when you get into a squirrely market like we are right now, if companies issue really upside strong guidance here on sales and earnings, those are the stocks when they pull back and they don't break down technically to consider initiating and adding to positions here. So the market's narrow to some extent, but it's still very healthy, and that there's nothing wrong with that. But people just need to follow the rules of long-term good investing.
Yep. Well, Brian, thank you very much. I could talk to you for hours, and so appreciated. Wish we had more time here, but we'll have to stop there. That is veteran market strategist Brian Perry, editor of Brian Perry Investing at brianperryinvesting.com. Also author of the 25% Cash Machine. Brian, thank you very much for joining us live. We wish you a great weekend.
No, it's always good to be with you, Frank. Thanks again, and have a good weekend yourself.
Thank you very, very much, Brian Perry. And out to the freeways now on 790 KABC. You said it. Mottek On Money continues here, 790 KABC to wrap up the week. Mixed finish on Wall Street with Dow up 75 points at the bell at 46,987. The S&P 500 of 8 at 6,729. The NASDAQ gave back 49 points at 23,004 in what's been a rough week for the tech names, including even the magnificent one, NVIDIA, has taken a hit this week. Right now at 188 and change. It was as high as 212 not too long ago. Among the airlines, SkyWest, which was mentioned earlier, up nearly $2 today at 98 and change. UAL, United Airlines, up nearly $2 at 97.43. American Air, up 50 cents at 13.65. Delta shares up $1.07 at 58.81. Gold, which we'll be talking about here shortly, is hovering just above $4,000 an ounce once again. Crude oil is just back below $60 a barrel. Bitcoin had a rough week, but did rebound here toward the end of it. Down nearly 200 here at the moment at 103,549. ETH at 34.38 and Doge at 18 cents. And now the latest news on 790 KABC. Good afternoon. Mottek On Money continues. Gold taking a breather this week, but ended the week above $4,000 an ounce. Silver is back below $50 an ounce after hitting record highs recently. Platinum hovering at around 1,554 or so here at last check. Let's get an update on what's happening with the precious metals and the record-shattering moves we've seen this year. Joining us live now, Barry Stepler, founder of Stepler & Company and Mint State Gold, based in Woodland Hills, also rare coin expert, former president of the American Numismatic Association. He's had a busy year. Barry, thank you very much for taking the call here this afternoon.
Oh, yes. I have a lot of very happy clients, and yes, it's been a busy year, but I enjoy every minute of it.
That's wonderful, Barry.
It's just an exciting time when you watch gold go. For October 1st, gold was $38.50. By October 20th, gold had gone to $43.80. That was like over a $400 move in less than 20 days. Now, after gold hit 4,380, it saw a serious sell-off, and it got down. It actually broke down to under 4,000 on October 27th. And for the last 2 weeks, last week and this past week, gold has traded above and below the $4,000 area. And it's what I call a bull-bear war. They're trying to get it down below 39 or up above 41. If it gets down below 39, we could easily see 38. If it gets back above 41, we could go back and see new highs. So we're seeing a lot of active trading all over the globe. London, we're seeing active trade in Mumbai, which is India. We're seeing it in Hong Kong and in New York. That's the primarily most active trading exchanges, and that's where all the activity level is. As far as the public is concerned, it's been kind of quiet. I mean, there was some selling somewhere near the high. I've seen some recently. We're seeing buying, particularly when it gets down near the $4,000 range. But the public, for the most part, has not really been active in the United States. Outside the United States, it's a different story. A lot of physical gold buying. But you like to talk about silver a lot. Silver, as you said, reached a high of 53.50, and then saw a low recently of roughly 46 and change. So we've seen a substantial correction, a 10% correction in the price of silver since it reached its high on October 17th. And a lot of activity in silver is starting to show a good base above 47. If gold to continue higher, break back above 41, silver will probably go back above 50 because there's been a lot of accumulation in the $47 to $50.
Bruin fans, fall is finally here. That means UCLA football is back in your life. Head out to the Rose Bowl to enjoy America's best tailgating and to make more unforgettable memories with the Bruins. Nico Iamaleava and the Bruins are ready to make an impact this year, and we need you cheering them at the Rose Bowl. Visit UCLABruins.com or call 310-UCLA-WIN to lock in your tickets today. 310-UCLA-WIN.
Family Matters amplifies the loudest and the proudest political voices in the Black community today.
What's up, guys? I'm CJ Pearson. There's so many incredible perspectives here in the Black community that you're going to hear from each and every week.
Because faith matters, country matters, and family matters.
This is exactly what the mainstream media was missing by not actually going to Black churches, going to Black barbershops, talking to the people at the forefront of this change in the community. Let me start here.
Family Matters with CJ Pearson.
Each and every week. We'll see you here. Talk to you soon.
Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Price range. So it's an active market, and both of them I still think will be substantially higher by the end of the year and definitely higher by the mid part of next year.
Tug of war between the Bulls and the Bears in the precious metals. We're on the air live with Barry Stepler, the founder of Stepler & Company, based in Woodland Hills. Now, a lot of wild cards out there, Barry Stepler. I'm sure you've been following what's happening in New York with the new mayor coming in there, and also the Supreme Court had that big hearing this week, set to decide whether the president's tariffs are valid, and it's going to be interesting to see what that ruling is and how it might potentially impact the financial markets. Have you given thought to all of that?
Yeah, I flew back from Baltimore last night. I was in Baltimore on Wednesday and Tuesday and Wednesday, and then came back last night. I actually was throwing a congratulatory party for the new Paul Hollis, who's the new Mint director, who happens to be a friend of mine and been a friend for about 20 years, and he's going to be the Mint director probably right after the beginning of the year. And we've had discussions. We were talking about what was happening in Washington with the Supreme Court and a bunch of other issues, but he seems to feel like I do that the gold and silver prices are going higher, and there's a lot of demand outside the country, a lot of concern, uncertainty, and that's when the people run for precious metals. So these all have an effect directly on gold, but the feeling is right now that with the economy weakening, it's a good bet we will get an interest rate cut in December, and that should absolutely help gold get back up to where the previous highs were. But all the issues that are out there are all obviously causing uncertainty, and that uncertainty is what's fueling the demand for gold worldwide.
On the air live with Barry Stepler, we covered gold, silver. What about platinum, which remains well off its all-time high, although it too has seen a big jump this year?
Oh, yeah. I've never been a big platinum supporter, as you know, Frank, but it's done really well this year on a substantial amount of increase in new buyers. It got up to well into the 1600s. In 1679 was the high, and it hit that on October 16th. So it actually topped out before gold and silver did. But right now it's trading in the $1,500 range, and I'm sorry, no, the high was 1755. I'm sorry, I was looking at palladium. But right now it's in the low 1500s. But it's a good value of this. But I normally recommend to my clients that they be 50% in gold, 40% in silver, and 10% in either platinum or palladium. So normally, as long as they're diversified, I'm good with that. And platinum and palladium have both surprised me this year. I didn't think they would follow gold up, but I was obviously wrong. They did follow gold up.
That's great that you're friends with the incoming director of the U.S. Mint. Any exciting new offerings from the U.S. Mint that were brought to your attention?
Well, next year, Frank, is the 250th anniversary of the United States. Yep. And Paul and I were talking about items he'd like to do. And one of them that he'd like to get congressional approval for when he gets into office is a $2.50 gold piece. This would be probably priced by the U.S. Mint at under $1,000. So the price point would be good for a good gold item. And we don't have a $2.50 gold piece. And a $2.50 gold piece for the 250th anniversary would be a great idea. Other items would be some of the classic coins that the U.S. made back in the 1790s and early 1800s. You could restrike those in date of 2026. It would be a wonderful way to celebrate our 250th anniversary. So he's got a lot of good ideas. I'm going to fly back to Washington and talk to him again probably sometime in late February or March when he's installed in the office and he knows who to go to and how to get things done. He obviously has to learn a lot, but once he gets in there, he's a very capable guy, very smart guy, and I'm very excited by the fact that a numismatist is actually going to be director of the U.S. Mint.
See it tonight, read about it tomorrow, but hear it now on Mottek On Money, live on the air with Barry Stupler, the founder of Stupler & Company and Mint State Gold, rare coin expert, former president of the American Numismatic Association. Barry, thank you very much for joining us live here this afternoon.
Thank you, Frank.
Out to the freeways we go now, 790 KABC. Mottek On Money continues here, 790 KABC. Tesla's Elon Musk appears set to become the first trillionaire. A lot going on in the car business these days in advance of the LA Auto Show, which is coming up pretty fast here at the end of the month around Thanksgiving. And joining us live now is the one and only Lauren Fix, who's the co-host of the Drive Car Show, syndicated radio show, as well as the founder of Car Coach Reports on YouTube. Lauren, thank you very much for coming to the line here this afternoon.
Oh, you're welcome. Anytime.
Well, terrific. And, of course, Elon Musk getting new attention. And I talked to Steve Forbes yesterday. I proposed he's got the billionaires list. What about a new trillionaires list? And it looks like Elon Musk will be the first one on that list. What's your reaction to that big news this week?
Well, nothing really surprises me when it comes to Elon Musk.
Bruin fans, fall is finally here. That means UCLA football is back in your life. Head out to the Rose Bowl to enjoy America's best tailgating and to make more unforgettable memories with the Bruins. Nico Iamaleava and the Bruins are ready to make an impact this year, and we need you cheering them at the Rose Bowl. Visit UCLABruins.com or call 310-UCLA-WIN to lock in your tickets today. 310-UCLA-WIN.
November is heating up for U.S. soccer.
The United States need to be a little more nasty.
Big international friendlies for the men.
Callum, that was nasty.
And a Black Friday friendly for the women.
The expectations have always been here for this team. We understand that.
Listen anywhere on the go with the Westwood One Sports app. And for behind-the-scenes stories, catch the U.S. Soccer Podcast.
Boy, do we have an episode for you.
Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
He's very smart. He knows how to make things work. And, hey, if you can get a gigantic bonus from your company and own almost 25% of it, you got to give the company something back. Because remember, the shareholders are the ones that are making the call. So it's great for us in the press to say he's good or he's bad, but really it's about the bottom line, like it always is with any company. And he's talking about making his company a robot company. And I think that when you start looking at a bigger picture than just I'm doing cars and making some ugly cyber trucks, that's one thing. But if you listen to him, he was just on a couple podcasts, and you take the time to listen to what he has to say, he's certainly looking forward at some other things we're going to be seeing coming out in the future. He said flying cars. I don't know if I want to be in a flying car, just thinking about how people drive on the roads and they have their heads already in their phones. I fear that they probably need pilot's licenses as well.
Very good point. What about flying cars? Are we going to see them in 2026?
Well, there have been flying cars in the past. There are cars that people have runways. They have pilot's licenses. The wings fold up. It can drive like a car, and then, of course, you can put it in your garage. those have not done well. They're extremely expensive. They do require a pilot's license, which is not something you just go and take a test and pass. It requires hours and hours of training. I have a couple friends that are pilots, and I looked into it. It'll take you at least a year to get a pilot's license. So that'll turn down the average person. However, if you make it autonomous, and I did see that about 6 years ago, Bell Helicopters had something at the Geneva Auto Show showing vertical takeoff and then driving like a plane. That was kind of neat. It was autonomous. But again, are you willing to get into something that's going to fly like a helicopter or an airplane without a pilot? So I don't think we're there yet. We're still working on autonomous cars, maybe down the road. The technology is there. The question is, can you trust it?
You made news recently on the story that automakers are reportedly secretly collecting and selling personal information. What are we to need to know about that?
Yeah, this is really an interesting thing, and I'm going to give you a couple websites you can go to. One of them is a complete not-for-profit, so you can find some information about your car and what they're taking. With all these onboard sensors and these center screens, and everyone's used to it. You plug in your phone, you're using Bluetooth, you've got Wi-Fi in your car. All that data is being sold to third-party data brokers. Data is where the money is. The profit margins there are dramatic. So there are two websites I found. One of them is called privacy4cars.com. Privacy, the number 4, cars.com. And the other one is vehicleprivacyreport.com. Both allow you to look up your vehicle, see exactly what kinds of data is being collected, and what they're sharing and who they're sharing it to. And I will promise you, the results are very eye-opening. I'm driving a 2016 SUV. I was surprised even back that far. We're talking 10 model years now because I'm already looking at 26 and 27 cars. We're already seeing that the data has been collected for decades. And that data is your data. It's your personal information, your contacts, your call logs, your location history, your garage door codes, what infotainment you listen to, and they're selling that data. And
wow.
I would be pretty upset when you figure it out. I will tell you, by the way, I did get to see the 2027 Kia Telluride that I'll be posting on Monday. You will get a first look. Very few of us got that opportunity. Also, the new Honda Prelude, which I just posted on my Car Smarts car review channel. Some new cars coming out, but all of them collect data. Some manufacturers know that they're not going to sell it because they know people get upset. In other cases, they'll go against the Supreme Court, which had a case. It was the United States versus Jones from 2012, and the Supreme Court ruled that the GPS tracking information in your vehicle and its monitoring of its movements is considered search under the Fourth Amendment, but the law is only enforced with a warrant. So still that data is being collected. Where is the data? And the government will only protect the government. It's not protecting us. So you need to go in and remove that data, clear out that data, especially if you're selling a car, because that information is still on the vehicle.
All excellent points. And speaking of new cars, and thanks for those previews, you getting set to come to Los Angeles later this month?
Yes, and we're going to go to the Tesla Diner as promised, So I'll have to connect up with you after the show, and we'll find some time to get together. I look forward to it.
That'll be terrific, Lauren. Absolutely, we'll do that. And so you got a big job here. I know you're going to be serving as the judges here, right, for some of the competition?
Yes, for the North American Car and Truck of the Year, we'll be announcing the final 3 on the first day of Media Days for the auto show, and also I'll be there for the World Car of the Year Awards. We'll be driving cars from all over the world to be brought into LA. Jurors from around the world will come in, and we will test drive the vehicles, and we'll have our final winners at the New York Auto Show in March.
Very interesting. Anything, you mentioned a couple of names, anything else that's turning your head here in the new model year?
Yeah, I just got to drive the new Hyundai Palisade 2026. I have to say, they keep making their vehicles better and better. And as I was telling somebody at dinner last night, that the benchmark used to be the Audi A4. If your car didn't meet that benchmark as far as quality, safety, handling, your car was not good. It was okay. But that was always the benchmark. And the new benchmark has become the Hyundai product line. Hyundai, Kia, and Genesis, which is the luxury line of Hyundai, have really elevated their game to the point that now Audi has to bring their game up to Hyundai's level. And if you haven't driven one or seen one in a long time, Take it for a test drive. You'll see a lot of German flavor, and the reason is those companies, which are all under the Hyundai Corporation, have hired German designers, suspension engineers, everything. And so there's a lot of German flavor in these cars for a fraction of the price. It's really great value.
That is very interesting. All right, well, let me know when I'll make the reservation then for the diner, and look forward to seeing you here soon, Lauren. Thank you very much for taking the call live with us here this afternoon.
You're welcome.
Lauren Fix, co-host of the Drive Car Show, syndicated radio show, and the awesome founder of Car Coach Reports on YouTube. We're wrapping up the week with a mixed finish on Wall Street. The Dow up 75 at the bell today. The S&P 500 up 8. NASDAQ down 49. Stay tuned now for the 790 KBC News Blitz with Randy Wang, and I'll be back with more at 4 Monday afternoon right here on Mottek On Money on 790 KBC.
Bruin fans, fall is finally here. That means UCLA football is back in your life. Head out to the Rose Bowl to enjoy America's best tailgating and to make more unforgettable memories with the Bruins. Nico Iamaleava and the Bruins are ready to make an impact this year, and we need you cheering them at the Rose Bowl. Visit UCLABruins.com or call 310-UCLA-WIN to lock in your tickets today. 310-UCLA-WIN.